Have you noticed that the bag of chips you buy feels lighter, the candy bar looks smaller, or the bottle of juice isn't quite as full as it used to be? You're not imagining it. Companies are quietly reducing the size of their products while keeping prices the same, or even raising them slightly. This practice is called shrinkflation, and it's happening across nearly every aisle of the grocery store. A bag of Doritos that used to be 16 ounces is now 9¼ ounces. A roll of toilet paper that used to have 400 sheets now has 312. The price stayed the same, but you're getting significantly less product. Today, I'm going to walk you through specific examples of shrinkflation, explain why companies do this instead of just raising prices, and show you how much more you're actually paying when you do the math per ounce or per unit. Shrinkflation is when companies reduce the size, weight, or quantity of a product while maintaining or slightly increasing the price. Instead of raising the price from $3.99 to $4.99, which consumers would immediately notice and resist, they keep the price at $3.99, but reduce the product from 16 ounces to 14 ounces. The result is the same as a price increase. You're paying more per ounce, but it's harder to notice. Most people don't memorize the exact weight or quantity of products they buy regularly. You remember that your favorite chips cost about $4, but do you remember if the bag was 14 ounces or 16 ounces last time? Probably not. This psychological trick is why companies prefer shrinkflation to price increases. Research in consumer behavior shows that people are more sensitive to price changes than to size changes. A product jumping from $4 to $5 creates sticker shock and might make you choose a competitor or skip the purchase. But a product staying at $4 while shrinking from 16 to 14 ounces often goes unnoticed. Shrinkflation isn't new. It's happened periodically throughout history, particularly during periods of high inflation or increasing input costs. But it became extremely widespread between 2020 and 2025 as companies faced rising costs for ingredients, packaging, labor, and transportation during and after the pandemic.
Let's look at specific products that have shrunk in recent years. These aren't isolated cases. This is happening across most product categories. Snack foods. Doritos is one of the most documented examples. A standard bag of Doritos was 16 ounces for years. It's now 9¼ ounces in many stores. That's a 42% reduction. The price stayed around $3.99 to $4.49. You're now paying the same amount for less than 60% of what you used to get. Chips Ahoy cookies went from 16 ounces to 13 ounces, an 18% reduction. The family size package went from 19 ounces to 18 ounces. Wheat Thins went from 10 ounces to 9 ounces, a 10% reduction. Ritz crackers went from 16 ounces to 13 7/10 ounces, a 14% reduction. Beverages. Gatorade bottles went from 32 ounces to 28 ounces, a 12.5% reduction. The price stayed around $2 to $2.50. Tropicana orange juice went from 59 ounces to 52 ounces, an 11.5% reduction. Arizona iced tea, which famously kept its 99-cent price printed on the can for decades, recently switched from 23 ounces to 20 ounces, while trying to maintain the 99-cent price point, though many retailers now charge more. Candy. Cadbury chocolate bars went from 220 grams to 200 grams, a 9% reduction. Toblerone changed the spacing between the triangular chocolate pieces, reducing the weight from 400 grams to 360 grams, a 10% reduction. This one was particularly noticeable because the shape changed visibly. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, the standard 2-pack, went from 0.75 ounces to 0.7 ounces, a 6.5% reduction. Small change, but noticeable when you eat them regularly. Paper products. This is where shrinkflation gets particularly sneaky. Toilet paper rolls that advertised 400 sheets now have 312 sheets. Some brands reduced the width of the sheet slightly, so each roll is physically smaller. Paper towel rolls similarly went from 120 sheets to 100 or fewer. Bounty paper towels changed from full sheets to select-a-size sheets that are smaller, effectively reducing the total paper area per roll while marketing it as a feature. Household products. Clorox wipes went from 75 wipes per container to 70, a 7% reduction. Dish soap bottles went from 25 ounces to 19 ounces in many cases, a 24% reduction. Laundry detergent has been particularly affected. Concentrated formulas mean smaller bottles, but even accounting for concentration, the number of loads per bottle has decreased in many cases. Breakfast items. Cereal boxes are notorious for shrinkflation. General Mills reduced the size of family-size cereal boxes from 19.3 ounces to 18.1 ounces, a 6% reduction, while keeping boxes the same physical size with more air inside. Folgers coffee went from 51 ounces to 43.5 ounces, a 14.5% reduction. Chobani yogurt went from 6 ounces to 5.3 ounces, an 11% reduction. Ice cream. Most brands of ice cream reduced from half-gallon containers, 64 ounces, to 56 ounces or even 48 ounces. That's a 12.5 to 25% reduction. The containers are designed to look similar in size to the old half-gallon, but there's significantly less ice cream inside. Now, let's talk about why companies choose shrinkflation instead of simply raising prices. Reason number 1, psychological pricing. There's a concept in pricing psychology called price points. Certain prices feel significantly different to consumers even when they're mathematically close. $3.99 feels significantly cheaper than $4.99, even though it's only a dollar difference because it's in a different dollar range. Moving from $3.99 to $4.99 represents a 25% price increase. That's substantial and likely would reduce sales. But shrinking the product from 16 ounces to 14 ounces while keeping the price at $3.99 is also about a 14% price increase per ounce, but consumers are much less likely to notice. Companies know that price is the most visible piece of information on the shelf. Size or weight is printed smaller and requires calculation to compare. By keeping prices stable at familiar price points while reducing size, companies avoid triggering price sensitivity. Reason number 2, competitive dynamics. In competitive categories, being the first to raise prices visibly is risky. If your chips cost $5 and the competitors cost $4, consumers might switch. But if you both keep prices at $4 while quietly shrinking packages, neither brand loses competitive position and both preserve margins. There's evidence that shrinkflation spreads within product categories. When one major brand shrinks a product, competitors often follow within months. This suggests companies are watching each other and coordinating informal price discipline through size reductions. Reason number 3, retailer relationships. Retailers often resist price increases from manufacturers because they have to pass those increases to consumers, which might reduce sales. But package size changes are less controversial. A manufacturer can tell a retailer, "We're keeping wholesale prices stable while quietly reducing package size." The retailer's shelf price doesn't change, which avoids disputes. Reason number 4, reversibility. If a company raises prices and gets consumer backlash or sees sales drop significantly, it's difficult to reverse. But lowering prices after raising them sends a signal of weakness and trains consumers to wait for sales. But if a company shrinks a product and gets backlash, they can potentially reverse it more quietly or introduce a new larger size as a marketing positive. Reason number 5, input cost pressures. Between 2020 and 2025, companies faced substantial increases in costs. Commodity prices for ingredients increased, packaging costs went up, labor costs in manufacturing and transportation rose, fuel costs for shipping fluctuated significantly. Companies had to maintain profit margins somehow. They chose shrinkflation as the path of least consumer resistance. From the company's perspective, they're adapting to rising costs while trying to minimize impact on sales.
Let's calculate what shrinkflation actually costs consumers. Take Doritos as an example. If a bag cost $4 for 16 ounces, that's 25 cents per ounce.
Now that same $4 bag contains 9¼ ounces, which is 43 cents per ounce. You're paying 72% more per ounce for the same product. If you buy one bag per week, over a year you're getting less than 481 ounces instead of 832 ounces. That's a difference of 351 ounces, equivalent to 22 bags at the old size. You're effectively paying for 52 bags, but only getting 30 bags worth of product at the old size. Gatorade went from 32 ounces to 28 ounces at about $2.50. That's an increase from 7.8 cents per ounce to 8.9 cents per ounce, about 14% more per ounce. Toilet paper going from 400 sheets to 312 sheets, a 22% reduction, while prices stayed similar, means you're paying 22% more per sheet. If you buy toilet paper monthly, that's an extra $50 to $60 per year for the same actual amount of product. When you multiply these small increases across dozens of products in a typical grocery trip, the cumulative effect is substantial. A family spending $200 per week on groceries might be getting 10 to 15% less actual product than they would have gotten in 2019 for the same money. That's equivalent to $20 to $30 per week, or roughly $1,000 to $1,500 per year in hidden price increases through shrinkflation. This is on top of regular price inflation that also occurred during this period. Many products experienced both regular price increases and shrinkflation, compounding the total increase in cost per unit. As a consumer, how can you identify shrinkflation and make better purchasing decisions? Strategy number 1. Check unit prices. Most stores display unit prices on shelf tags, showing the price per ounce, per pound, per sheet, or per unit. This is your best tool for comparing products and noticing shrinkflation. If you usually buy a product and the unit price has increased significantly while the shelf price stayed similar, that's shrinkflation. Compare unit prices across brands and sizes. Sometimes the brand that shrunk its product the most is no longer the best value, even if its shelf price looks competitive. Strategy number 2, buy based on unit price, not on brand loyalty. If your favorite brand shrunk its product significantly, consider switching to a competitor that didn't shrink as much, or to a store brand. Your loyalty costs you money when brands use shrinkflation. Strategy number 3, buy larger sizes when practical. Shrinkflation often affects smaller package sizes more than larger ones. A family size or bulk package might have shrunk less proportionally than the regular size. Check unit prices to confirm, but often larger packages are better values, particularly at warehouse stores. Strategy number 4, stock up during sales. If a product you use regularly goes on sale, particularly if it's a good unit price compared to recent norm, consider buying several. Prices and sizes tend to only get worse over time, not better. Strategy number 5, consider store brands. Store brands and generic products often didn't shrink as much as name brands during the recent shrinkflation wave. They're also typically cheaper per unit. If the quality is comparable, switching to store brands can save significant money. Strategy number 6, voice your complaints. Companies do pay attention to consumer feedback. If enough people complain about shrinkflation for a specific product, particularly on social media where it becomes visible, companies sometimes respond. Some have reversed changes or introduced larger sizes after backlash. Shrinkflation represents a broader pattern in how companies respond to economic pressures in ways that lack transparency. From a company's perspective, shrinkflation is logical. They face rising costs, need to maintain margins, and choose the method of passing costs to consumers that's least likely to reduce sales. This is rational business behavior. From a consumer's perspective, shrinkflation feels deceptive. You're getting less for your money, but it's hidden in a way that makes it hard to notice and hard to comprehend shop. It takes advantage of the fact that most people don't track package sizes and unit prices closely. Some consumer advocates have called for regulations requiring companies to clearly disclose when package sizes change, perhaps with prominent labels stating "new smaller size" or "now contains X% less." Some European countries have considered such regulations. The counterargument is that package size is already disclosed on the label, and unit prices are displayed in most stores, so consumers have the information they need if they choose to pay attention. Additional regulation might be burdensome and wouldn't necessarily change behavior. Regardless of regulation, shrinkflation highlights the importance of being an informed consumer. The grocery store is not a passive experience where you can assume prices and values stay constant. Companies constantly adjust prices, sizes, and formulations in response to costs and competition. Paying attention to unit prices and being willing to switch brands or products when values change can save significant money. Shrinkflation is when companies reduce product sizes while keeping prices stable, effectively raising prices in a way that's harder for consumers to notice. Examples include Doritos shrinking from 16 ounces to 9¼ ounces, Gatorade from 32 ounces to 28 ounces, and toilet paper from 400 sheets to 312 sheets. Companies do this because consumers are more price-sensitive than size-sensitive, and it allows them to pass along cost increases while maintaining familiar price points. The cumulative effect across a shopping cart can be 10 to 15% less product for the same money, costing families over $1,000 annually in hidden increases. Understanding shrinkflation and checking unit prices helps you make better purchasing decisions and avoid paying more for less. If you found this breakdown helpful, share it with someone who shops for groceries. Leave a comment about shrinkflation you've noticed in products you buy, and subscribe for more videos explaining how costs have changed in ways that aren't always obvious. I'll see you in the next one.